Well, good evening. I'm Robert.
I'm Allison.
And we are going to make a recipe called Just Bread tonight. What we're going to try to show you with this little video is how you can work making really great homemade bread into your normal day-to-day schedule. So this recipe called Just Bread is from the King Arthur website. And it says that the total time to make this bread is 17 hours, which feels like a bit of a time investment. So we're going to show you what that really looks like, how to deal with the dough, and how to work it into your normal life. The first part of this recipe that we're going to make is something called a levain, which is a small amount of dough that we make the night before. And this actually soaks up the bulk of the time that this recipe takes. We're going to make this levain tonight, and we're going to use it tomorrow, 12 to 14 hours later, which means tomorrow we'll only really have about 3 hours of bread making to do, and of that 3 hours we're only going to use a few minutes anyway. So we're going to do everything right here with you tonight, and we're going to use a pretty simple kitchen scale instead of for measuring cups, so we make sure we have the right amounts. Friday afternoon, or Friday evening really. I finished work a short time ago, and we're going to get this started tonight, and we'll do the baking on Saturday. We're going to approach this as Allie's going to be the hands-on person doing the baking, and I'm going to be kind of talking her through the steps. So the first step in the directions here are to make the levain. We're going to make the levain in just a regular cereal bowl, and the directions here on the side say that we need half a cup or 57 grams of white whole wheat flour. So we're going to use an inexpensive home kitchen scale, which Allie's going to turn on. We have the bowl that we're going to use sitting on top of it right now, so when the scale turns on, it's going to zero it out, and the weight of the bowl will be zeroed out as well. So all we need to do is put 57 grams of flour into that small bowl. So once again, 17 grams. 41, so 3/4 teaspoon, 6, 54, here's a little more, 58. So 58 grams is fine, it's not quite 57, but you don't have to be perfectly precise. It will kind of work out. So I'm not too worried about 58 grams. You don't need to take it back out so that you're exactly at 57. Hang loose a little bit, stay calm, it's only bread. So 58 grams is just fine. The next step is 3 tablespoons or 42 grams of water. What I would do is I would reset the scale by hitting the tare button, which will reset the scale back down to 0. Sometimes on my scale I have to press it a couple of times. Now that it's back at 0, we don't have to do any complicated math in our head. Allie can take the water and just start to slowly pour it in. 20, 30, 42, perfect, right in the nose. The next step for the levain says to use 1 teaspoon of ripe sourdough starter, which if you have a sourdough starter, by all means use it. You can also use 1/16 teaspoon of instant yeast. So the smallest teaspoon measure we have is actually a 1/4 teaspoon, and this wants 1/16, which is 1/4 of 1/4. So what you need to do is just grab a little tiny bit of that 1/4 teaspoon. I'd go a little more than that. There you go, that's fine. Kind of show it to the camera there. Good, perfect. And we're just going to put that right in. If you get the yeast amount a little bit high, a little bit low, it's not the end of the world. More yeast goes in later. This is just for the flavor development. With that part done, all we need to do now is mix this together. So if you can lift up the bowl, I'm going to take the scale out. You can put the bowl back down. And when you're mixing, it's going to seem pretty dry. Have confidence it will come together. When I made this bread recipe the first time, I actually ended up using the back of the spoon to kind of mush together the ingredients into a paste as I was going along. That's perfect. So we're going to cover this, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow morning.
Good afternoon.
So we made the levain yesterday at about 6:30.
Yeah.
It's now about 10 after 1.
Oops.
And so today we're going to start with making the dough. So this part's actually just as simple as making the levain. We've got basically the same setup. We have the bowl from our stand mixer. We use a Bosch stand mixer, which we really like. This stand mixer looks a little bit different than your standard KitchenAid or something like that, but it works just the same. So this is the bowl for that, which we're going to put on the scale. And we're going to go through the process. We have a couple of things out. We have bread flour, and we have the white whole wheat flour. The white whole wheat flour is the same flour as we use to make the levain. The bread flour is a higher protein sort of white flour. Both from King Arthur, just because that's the flour that we like. We also have some honey. We have olive oil, a little bit of salt, and some water. Allie's got a little more than a cup of water out here. I think we may end up needing a little bit more, but we'll see how it goes. First step, combine the levain with 1.5 cups of water in the bowl of the stand mixer. So step 1, we're going to take the levain from last night, and we're going to get that in the bowl. So this is the spoon she's going to use to scoop the flour, and we just don't want to get it dirty already. And the next step is to add the water. We need 340 grams of water. Okay. So the measure we have here is about 232. So Allie's going to grab a little bit more water from the sink. Excellent. So we're going to slowly bring it up to just 340 grams of water. So 341. All right, pretty close. The next step, it says, is to add the flours and the remaining ingredients to the bowl. So basically, everything else you have, get it in the bowl. Perfect. So she's reset the scale. I'm going to start with the flour. So we need 339 grams. 339. 340. Perfect. Great. So that's the white whole wheat flour. So we're going to keep that spoon, but we can cover that flour. We don't need it now. 134 grams. So I'm going to reset the scale again. Yep, 134. Ooh, perfect. 135. That was very lucky. Excellent. So I'm going to reset this again. That's great. So we have the 2 flours in. The next one is salt. We need 9 grams of salt, which is about 1.5 teaspoons. So you can just kind of shake it in. We have a little bit of it set aside here. 6. 7. Getting there. A little bit more. Come on. There it is. 9. Perfect. Great. We get 9 grams. And the next thing is 1/2 teaspoon of instant yeast. So it just wants 2 grams. You have to be a little bit careful with the scale, especially for those smaller weights, because it takes time to update. The next one we have is 32 grams of honey. Reset the scale again. Perfect. Nice job. And the next thing we need is 31 grams of vegetable oil. So we're using olive oil. So we'll just stream it in. Same thing. Want to be a little bit careful. It's tough to get the liquids back out. Oh, right on it. 30. Keep going. 31. Perfect. Great. So that's it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this on our stand mixer with the dough hook, and we're going to let it mix for just a couple of minutes. Not to knead the dough yet. We're just looking to kind of combine all the components. So I'll grab the bowl. And I'm just going to dial it up just slowly, just to give it a chance to get mixed.
Alright, so it's finished mixing itself.
Yeah, so we let it run on the stand mixer for a couple of minutes just on low speed. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to knead it with the stand mixer for about 10 minutes. But this is where it's going to build the gluten and give the bread the structure it needs to rise. Something a little unusual about this dough is they have you add extra water to the dough while it's kneading during that 10-minute knead. They do this because the flour is absorbing more liquid as it kneads. In order for the bread to be nice and fluffy after we've baked it, we need to continue to add more liquid and make the dough really very wet. So as it's kneading, what we're going to do is add in about another 1/4 cup of water. We're not going to weigh it this time, we're just going to go by the liquid measure. Water is a pretty easy one to measure that way. So we'll leave the camera running while it mixes, and you'll see us add those extra bits of water. So I'm going to turn the mixer on now, a little bit higher than we had it before, and it's just going to knead for 10 minutes, and we'll check back in with you guys when it's done. Yeah, half of what you have. So now comes one of the next easy parts. All we need to do now is cover the dough and let it rest. I turned the oven light on. I don't turn the oven on itself, just the oven light. And we can put the bowl in there with a cover on it, and that will be a nice warm environment, sort of in the mid-70s, which is great for the dough. So I'm going to have Allie take the bowl off the stand mixer. You just want to use your fingers to get the dough off the hook. And we have the plastic wrap we used last night for the levain. We'll use that again. I'm going to pop that into the oven. We'll see you guys in about 45 minutes.